I'm Josh Pollock. I want to thank everybody for coming. This talk is, I've gone through a couple title revisions on it, and I've learned a lot today about how to revise your titles, so hopefully by tomorrow I'll have an even better title, because I'm going to reuse this in a article that I'll be writing for Torque later this week. So look for that in the next week or so, because that's really what this is about, is writing strategically about WordPress. How to get the most out of helping others. In a sense, it's about how I got to be here today. I'm Josh. I do a lot of things with WordPress. Last time I was here, last year, I was not a speaker. I knew very few people in this room, and very few people who knew who I was. And I like to think that I've done a really good job of advancing my career. My bank statement tends to agree. My personal satisfaction tends to agree. And I get to be up here, which is great. I asked the photographer before we started if he could send a photo of me on this big stage to my mom. And my mom will be very proud, and I do like that's a nice motivator in what I do, is making my mom proud. But that's not keeping me going, both emotionally, satisfaction level, and financially, is making my mom proud of what I do. What's keeping me going is that I have a great time. People know who I am. I have impact. People use what I do. And, you know, I also happen to make money, which is great. What I do, these are my two big things. I'm building a team decision-making system. It's a SaaS product powered by WordPress. It's also powered by Pods, which is my day job, essentially. We do custom content types and fields. Those are my big two things. What else I do? Here's a long list. I'm not saying this to show off. My point is that I've gone in to do all these things in the last, 14, 15 months. I've been working full-time professionally in WordPress, because most of what I do is giving back to the community. It's my job, actually. I'm the community manager at Pods. We make a free plugin. I work for Torque, and I've written for a lot of these other sites where I get to write free content for people. I also like to help out with various core projects, but that's a couple hours out of the week that I have time for. I've been able to arrange my professional life in a way that I give back to the WordPress community, and it gives back to me. And that's what I'm talking about. I got here today by helping people. That's it. That's all I really did. I dedicated a huge percentage of my time over the last year and a half to helping people learn Pods, which was great for me because I didn't know how to use Pods, and I wanted to use Pods to make my SaaS product, which I am very happy to say almost works, and we should be going live in January. So, goals for this talk. Get better at what you do. Whatever that is, I'm a developer and a blogger, but whatever it is you do, become better at it. Make more money doing what you do. I like not being broke all the time. It's sort of a new thing for me. I'm not making a ton of money, but I actually see a path to making more money. I just kind of have fun doing what I'm doing. Teach others about what you're best at. This is the most rewarding part for me. I get to sort out people's problems. People are frustrated about using WordPress, using Pods, using open source software, making a website, and I get to be a part of their journey to sharing their gifts. Which is, when I say share your gifts, I don't mean share your personal gifts, I mean help people sharing gifts. Sharing is a two-way street. Sharing is just as much about what you're able to share as what you're enabling other people to share and what people are sharing with you. When we do this right, we are hitting all levels of that. Make the world a little better. First, this is basic writing 101. Read. It's the best step to writing. You want to be a successful blogger? Read. Don't just read the best. Right? Don't, stay up to date on the WordPress news, but there are a few people who are the best WordPress personal bloggers. Chris Lemma, Tom McFarlane, Justin Tadlock, depending on who you want to write for, what audience. I mean, those are people who are the best at the kind of writing that I do. Because it's not just important to read them, it's important to know why they are the best. This just starts thinking strategically. To say Chris Lemma is really good at blogging about WordPress is sort of meaningless, except for to promote him, which is fine, you should all be reading him. But if you want to be a writer about WordPress that's going to have an impact that's going to advance your career, you have to know why he's so good at what he does, why it is that everybody follows him. And really, it's about aligning pragmatism and idealism. Just like the GPL, right? We're all here because of the GPL, but we're not all here because 23% of, well, whatever leads to 23% of people powering the internet agree with the GPL ideology. It's because the GPL aligns pragmatism and idealism and gets things done. Well, nobody wants a website. People want to tell their story. They want to sell their product. They want to promote their ideals. That's why they choose WordPress, because it delivers that. So, what we'll cover: writing strategically, where to write, getting paid to write, or getting paid by writing. So part one, writing strategically. As I said, I'm about halfway through the first draft of an article on this exact same topic. My last WordCamp talk was in WordCamp Milwaukee. It was adapted from an article for Torque that I had written. And in fact, that's probably a big part of why they selected me, was I'd never spoken at a WordCamp before, but I could give them proof that I knew my topic because, hey, I'd written this cool article about it. And it opened doors for me, both being there, got me there, and then being there opened doors. How do you write strategically? We'll get into a lot of this, but the short answer is, what do you want people to think you're good at? I'm not talking about any of the tools of the trade here. There's been a lot of great talks on this today in this room that I've enjoyed going to. This is more of a philosophical talk of how did I get here and how can you become better at what you do, and it's convincing people that you're good at what you're best at. So, these are reasons to write, but these are reasons to write strategically. Making sure that, so I get paid to write a lot, but I can't allow my end game to be getting a few $100 extra in PayPal next week. My goal is to get paid to do one of these next few things. Write to learn. I write about things that I don't know about all the time. I think it's probably the most fun thing that I've ever done, is being able to say with confidence, yeah, I can write that article, and occasionally I say no. It's just like freelancing. You do well by saying no when you shouldn't say yes. But I write all the time about things that I'm pretty sure I can know about by the time I'm done writing. And as a result, I get to learn this thing, I get paid to learn this thing, and now people think I know this thing because I actually do. It's a great way to write. It's a great way to learn. Write to show off. If I learn, the other reason why I'm writing about something is because I want to show off something I just learned most of the time, or something cool that I just did. And I don't just mean that in terms of, right, so for me, I write a lot of technical articles, but show off this thing that you did. If you're not a developer, show off this strategy for boosting SEO or content engagement or building conversion rate. Show it off to the world. Also, you're able to use this thing that people just paid you to do or you did for yourself again. It's more efficient that way. Write to promote a product. That doesn't have to be your product. But write to promote products that you want to succeed. I've written a lot of articles about how a certain tool is good for X. And that's partially because I want people to know about it, and B, because I just finished a project where it saved my butt. But I want that plugin or that tool to succeed in the world. I want that developer to succeed. And, it's good for me because I hope they keep pushing out upgrades. Write to evangelize. So, evangelize a product. I occasionally write about the WordPress theme customizer. I stopped developing themes a long time ago, but my exception to all my strategic rules is basically I'll write about the customizer because I think it's the most important thing happening in WordPress as far as upgrading the UX for site owners and getting past what's gone wrong with the too many options issue. So I'll write an article about using the theme customizer in themes or in other uses because I want people to use it, even though I don't do theme development. It doesn't fit most of my strategic rules. Write to kiss ass. I've developed a couple of strategies. I don't want to talk about them because none of them worked, or at least yet. But sometimes you want to write about people that you want to, owe you a favor. It's good, especially when you already, you need a topic by your deadline. It's a great way to get an article in and hit this strategic goal. Write so you do not have to repeat yourself. Chris Lemma, again, he has a great article on why he writes ebooks, not to make a profit, but so he doesn't have to say the same thing over and over again. And this is a great tool because not only do you not have to say the same thing over and over again, you can have the post on your blog serve as your business card. You have this conversation with somebody they ask you a question, oh yeah, I know all about that. Let me send you this article. Not only do you not have to totally repeat yourself, instead of handing somebody a piece of paper that they are going to lose about your, with your name and your email address, and they might not ever go to your blog, they might not ever contact you, send them an email as a follow-up saying, here's the article that's about everything that you just did. Now, you've not only gotten them to follow up with you, you've gotten them onto your website and solve their problem. And even if they don't become your client, your customer, you've served their needs, and that's going to lead to, in the long term, them thinking of you as the expert in whatever it is you do. Part 2, where to write. This is something that I've struggled with a lot. I feel bad about the fact that I almost never post on my own blog, but I have a limited time and I have a lot of writing commitments for other sites, and it's about your goals. Is your goal to promote yourself? Is your goal to promote your product? And you can't know that unless you define your goal and figure out how you can reach your goal by helping others. Once you know that, then you can talk about delivery system. But until you know what your goal is and how other people can benefit by you reaching your goal, you can't talk about delivery system. Maybe you're building yourself as a personal brand. Maybe your personal blog is your marketing site. Maybe you're selling a plugin, you're selling a theme, you're selling a service. So your personal blog is sort of irrelevant. You want people on your company's blog. Until you know who those people are and what you're trying to do, you can't get to that. So your blog, your company's blog, you've got to know what problem you're trying to solve and how you're solving it. Then you can talk about delivery method. And your products blog is a great tool, but be careful. One of the great things about writing for other people is that they already have an audience. Becoming a guest blogger, we tend to think of guest blogger in terms of backlinks. There's a lot of people who understand that a lot better than me. That's not my point. Guest blogging is an opportunity to borrow somebody's audience. Can you do somebody a favor? We've been thinking in the broad sense of how do we help our readers by providing them with value. Can you help one person, one company by providing them with content that's going to come back around to you, that's going to explain how you solved a problem? Or can you just convince them to write it for you? Can you convince them to write about how your solution solved their problem? Not all the time do you need to write. Another option that works well for me because, is I like to get paid to write. It's fun, and it provides a small chunk of my income. And if you're going to do this, you have to approach it like any other journalism. And I really want to talk about this, even though this is probably not the solution for a lot of people, because I like the strategies that I learned when I studied journalism in undergrad. It's not my major because I'm, wanted to have a job, but I love to write, and it was something that I studied when I was an undergrad. And they talk a lot about the strategy of reading other things and figuring out what the content they need. And this strategy can be applied to writing on your own blog. When you want to get published somewhere else, you have to read everything that they do. You have to figure out what are the popular posts. It's hard because you don't have their analytics, but you can see what their shares are. You can see what their comments are, right? Those are analytics of some sort that are publicly available. You can see how they rank on Google. You can do all those searches against their content. Figure out what works for this provider. Now, you might not be approaching this in terms of, I want to write for that provider, but put that in terms of, I want to be that provider. These are the people that I wanted to serve. Remember I said, first you have to figure out what your goal is and how it is that you're going to serve the people that you can reach your goal by helping. Figure out what they read now, and then redirect them to you. How are you going to redirect them to you? Figure out what's going well for the place that they're already reading. This leads to getting paid. It doesn't have to be direct. Right? Sometimes people pay me money to write for them. I try and limit that these days. Whether you write for pay or not, they should be creating work for you. And this can go both ways. I don't want to limit what I write for somebody for a few $100 to, I'm only going to make a few $100. I want to write about what I do best, so that way people will think I'm the best at doing what I do best. I can have a long tail on my creation. And this applies to your writing for free for your own blog, for your products blog, to promote your product. You're doing the same thing. You're thinking through, how is this on the long term, by being helpful for other people, going to help me get paid? And that means you could sell your posts. You can sell your posts that are purely promotional if they're of value to the readers of the outlet. Have your posts sell you. This is even better. right? Forget getting paid for your posts. Get clients that will pay you way more money than you're ever going to make as a journalist by having your posts sell you, right? Write for a prestigious outlet and bring them back around. And I'm actually going to spend a lot of time on important takeaways here, which is, and I keep circling back around to this, you have to have a plan. You have to be flexible about your plan, but you have to have a plan. And that starts with, what do you have to offer to the world? The title of this talk was helping other people by helping yourself. What is it that you can help people with? What do people need? And how are you uniquely suited to deal with that? Know who needs it. Knowing that you can solve a problem is meaningless if you can't connect with people. So you have to do that research. And part of how you figure that out is knowing what they read. Giving back strategically. Forget about blogging for a second here. For me, it started with the theme review team. In early 2013, I was still in school, and I joined the theme review team. I was really into developing themes. I realized that if I wanted my theme in WordPress.org, it was at the time going to take months to get it reviewed. There's been a lot of great work done on that problem. At the time, the solution was, I don't know, you should sign up and do it. So I signed up and did it. I learned a ton by giving back through that team, by being involved in the discussion. Then, luckily now defunct WordPress theme review email list. I learned a lot about being a part of an open source community. I learned how to put my foot in my mouth, so hopefully I want to do it again. And I learned a lot about writing themes, which is a great way to get into WordPress development. Fix what you need to fix and contribute to what you use. Definitely, I feel weird not being in that developer in the contributing workshop today, but I had to psych myself up for this and then give this. But get involved. Figure out what it is. If it's the docs group, the people who are organizing support in the support group, one of the focus plugins. Focus plugins are great. The Meta API team, the REST API team, the focused group. These sorts of plugins where they're working on a new feature for WordPress. This isn't about maximizing your personal gain. It's about maximizing your contribution to WordPress. Don't do everything. If you try and get involved in every opportunity that you see to volunteer in WordPress, you will burn out in a week. If you get involved in things that you're not good at, not only will you not have a huge impact, nobody will really try and encourage you. Once you get good, when you give back something where you're really good at, people will encourage you, people will acknowledge you, and you'll have more fun, and you'll have a bigger impact. And that, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about giving back to the community through contributing to the WordPress core, through your writing, through your product. It's all about, how can I answer questions? And I'm intentionally going into my final site of questions, ask now or ask later. That's my email, that's my Twitter. I answer everybody's questions when they email me. If I don't, call me on that. I'm sorry, I was busy. But I really like the snooze function in mailbox, inbox by Gmail now. Because people send me these questions and I don't want to miss them, so I snooze them because I'm too busy. Be useful to the people who need you in this community by getting involved, by writing, by putting out solutions to common problems, to contributing to docs. And my biggest takeaway is the fact that I was here a year ago and I never expected to not just be a speaker, but to be on the big stage. This is kind of weird. And it's because I spent the last year helping other people succeed in WordPress. And it's come around to me in a unimaginably large amount. And I am grateful to every one of you, and you representing more than you, representing this great project and this great community. So I thank you for listening to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions now. And I'm serious, email me or tweet at me if you really want. I have my card up here as my phone number. I don't ever answer it, but I am happy to answer people's questions and be useful because it's brought me to this place and it's keeping me going forward. So if there are any questions, just make sure you get them into the microphone so they end up on their recording. But thank you.
So I was just curious. You obviously made great strides in writing articles all So what was it that kind of got that going? Was it something you did and people started coming to you? Did you do a lot of work to try and find those opportunities? Was it kind of a combination? How did that work?
So a couple things. One, getting published is really hard if you've never been published. So I got real strategic. There's a spreadsheet somewhere in my Google Drive that I haven't worked on in a long time, but had a list of topic ideas and had where I want to pitch them to, who rejected them, who else I want to pitch them to, who rejected it, who else I want to pitch it to. There could have been a better sorting algorithm there. But I was persistent. And once I got my first article, which was in Torque, for sort of WordPress publication, I was able to attach that to the bottom of all of my pitches. And my next pitch was the first time that I got paid to write, and it's kind of gone from there. People, it's a maxim in publishing that it's just about how can I make you money. It's no different than anywhere else. So once you can show people that you've written a successful post, that's part of it. The other thing is, as I said, I read, and this is a great bonus, is that I will read anything Chris Lemma writes. I'll read anything that Tom McFarlane writes or Justin Tadlock, which is great because now I know everything that they wrote, which is of great value. But I read it strategically. I spend a lot of time figuring out why Chris is one of the best at what he does, if not the best. How those work, how all those posts work. And also, you can track how they're playing into how he's marketing himself. He's marketing the products that he's affiliate marketing, how he's now marketing his company. He's marketing his coaching. When you start to look at what he's doing strategically, not just on stylistically, it starts to make sense and it seeps back into your own writing. You become a better writer.
How much time do you spend reading? Are you a speed reader?
I do read really fast, which is lucky. One of my many superpowers is I'm totally dyslexic. And as a result, I can read fast because of the way that I learned. I can't sound out words, but I see in chunks, and I can read really fast. I also have no other life, which is probably bad, but it's part of a plan. I also don't undervalue sleep. I sleep a lot, so that way I can retain what I actually read. And I use my writing and my consulting and my conversations with other WordPress people as a way to learn and a way to keep these things fresh in my head. You have to repeat things, 3 times before you actually remember anything? So part of me writing is oftentimes regurgitating what I've read. Part of my conversations with people are regurgitating what I've read so I can remember it. I can use these again in the future, and I can use it in my development work.
Josh, one of the things I'm perplexed with is how to write things very fast. So I'm actually thinking of getting Dragon to maybe just talk a blog article. But the other thing is coming up with ideas. Sometimes I'm driving, I come up with an idea, and I get home and, gee, I got that idea. It was a great idea. How do you, what's your recommendations on those 2 points?
A couple of things. So this is a really tricky thing, is that writing an article in your head is a valuable tool. That process of writing your first draft mentally is a valuable tool, but your internal conscious thought works so much differently than the actual act of English communication, speaking or writing. So you have to, this is one of the most frustrating things that you have to get over first, is that it will never read or sound like it sounded in your head. Just get over it. But that process is important for a lot of reasons, one of which is it helps me remember. I was doing earlier, after Syed's talk, he was talking about this emotional value tool for analyzing your headlines, which is really neat, that I'm going to use. But I was struggling to remember the topic that I come up with on the drive down here because I couldn't write it down. Right? And so, but it took me a while. But luckily, I thought that through for so long during this trip that not only do I remember what this article is, I remembered at least the topic. Took me a second. So I think that the process in your head, if you start thinking about how the hell am I going to remember this topic, then you're psyching yourself up to forget it. If you let that become a part of your workflow, it can become a positive thing, and your workflow can be better, and you have a positive association with it. When you get nervous about whether or not you're going to remember it, you have a negative association, and then you have a trouble recalling it. You've suppressed it on yourself. So I think don't be afraid of it, but also, write it down. A lot of people leave voicemails for themselves. I use the like button, not the like button, the star button on Twitter to organize great things that I should probably remember, either as there's developer or writer. And it works for me, but the other thing is keeping a calendar is another good one, both for organizing your content flow, but it means that I have to spend a couple hours a month figuring out everything I'm going to write, and then I'm kind of off the hook on that. So it's less stress on me.
You mean an editorial calendar?
Yeah, I don't do it formally, which there's been a lot of great tools discussed. I'm intentionally not discussing tools in this talk because other people have given great presentations on that. But I have an informal calendar, and that gets me off the hook for spending the rest of my time figuring out what I'm going to do.
Do you mind if I answer on the writing part, just because I'm a writer? So one of the things I do is I keep a Word document with ideas, but I literally text myself driving, and the voice. Yeah, I can't do audio on the visual learner, but I will text or email it to myself, and one of the strategies they talk about all weekend is how you organize your files. So I'll send myself an email titled idea, the name of the business, and then the specific idea. So when I go back and search my email, I'm saying, I had an idea for that product, what was it? And they all come up. Okay, so that's easy.
Well, I had an answer to his question too. I was writing something and just like you, I had to do something else and I was driving and the idea kept buzzing around and I was like, okay, I'm gonna forget this. So I pulled over to the side and I said, there's an audio app on my phone. And I just dictated it into the phone real quick. And then I said, okay, I'm free from that. And then I went on. And then when you get home, you play it recording back, and it'll either be great or not so great, but you know that was the idea.
There was somebody behind you. I love that other people are answering these questions. This is so useful. I've got an opinion. We all do. Whatever works.
Excuse me if this is a little tacky, I'm not sure. I'm not a professional blogger, actually a designer, but I'm kind of curious what professional blogger can expect to make for one article. It's probably a really wide range, but actually...
Not enough. And I don't mind answering that question, which is that I use the same system that I used with development, which is I keep asking for more, and when people stop saying yes, then I stop asking for more for a while. So right now I'm asking for about 3 or 350 for up to 1,000 words, and going up from there. But I'm also not accepting anybody right now because I just don't have time. But it depends on how you want to write. I know people who make a good living cranking out $50 and $75 a word articles, but they write much faster than me, they write a lot less than me. I'm working on getting less epic, and I'm determined to figure out how to write 1,000 or less word blog post. But most of the time I do 1,500, 2,000 words, and that would never scale it. But I'm sure there are people here who write for $50 or $75 an hour a word, but do it for 250, 500 words and can crank those out. So it really depends on what you think you're good at, and can you write about lots. I haven't developed the skill yet to write about other things that I don't already know about, and as you can sort of tell, that's not where I'm going. But that's an option. So it's just like development. If you want to be a specialist, you should charge more. If you want to crank them out, you might make more on volume.
So where do we find really good writers that can write from people that can do the SEO stuff too. It doesn't, I don't care about WordPress. I mean, I care about it straight, but.
Yeah, tough one in this room.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Who said that?
I got a lot of stuff
Get her.
written, right? And it's got to be high quality SEO. It doesn't matter what the tool or the medium is. Where are the writers, the SEO writers that understand how to do this?
Somebody else can answer this question probably better than me. Do you have an answer? But I'll give you, while she's moving the microphone over, just read the stuff that's working well. Most people who are writing aren't making a ton of money and would love to make more. So track them down and email them. Find it. It's the same strategy. Find the people find the outlets that are working in your industry, but instead of trying to write for them, try and steal their writers. Ask what they make there and offer them 150%.
I recommend not looking for someone who specifically focuses on writing for SEO, but someone who writes well. Because
Well, okay, let's discuss that. Because I've come, I've got a background in marketing communications, journalism. I can find good writers all day long, every day. I hire them, but finding them that understand SEO, I need a good writer that understands SEO.
So this is the simplest thing to Google.
If you know one of those, let me know. Or a few.
Right? The person who's writing the top result in your keyword is the person you want to go hire. So it's the easiest Google.
that's a good way to put it. Also, if you found a good writer, would you consider taking it to an SEO class? Is that something you would consider?
Well, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We're having to back.
Yeah.
But there's got to be people out there that can.
Because there are a lot of people who do fantastic SEO without even worrying about SEO. And I mean, beyond the basic Yoast SEO, optimization, adding a couple, making sure you have great description, titles, and a little bit of sprinkling of that keyword that you're trying to focus on. That's really it, to be honest. And promoting it and just helping people answer a question, I feel like there's so many people who just throw keywords in, hoping that, and just stuffing these keywords. That is one of the biggest problems I see. And, you really should be, I really would recommend using a keyword in a 600-word article more than 3 or 4 times. Anything more than that is just going to get ridiculous. That's, I think, the best way to really look at it. Focus on the content, add a little bit of SEO to it, and I think you'll do better SEO. You'll spend more time creating great content, and I think that's the best way to really think about it. That's all about it.
I could tell you there's, it was mentioned by Saeed, it's a copy blogger. That's an excellent site. It's both free and there's also
Is there a community of?
yeah, a huge community. Copy Blogger was actually created by Ryan Gardner, who was Studio Press. And he's on to other bigger things with this new site that he's on. But what I'd like to say too is, years ago, keywords were the dominant thing. But nowadays, with Google investing in natural language algorithms, the focus is not just on keywords, it's the vocabulary associated with keywords. So if you're doing an article on, say, plastic surgery, it's not just specific keywords, but there's this vocabulary about plastic surgery that Google checks for, and they don't tell you what those words are. So it's, if you're an expert in that field, those things naturally come out.
Right, and I mean, we get that basis of how, my team is well versed in SEO. We get it and understand the rules and you have to write well. That's the core of our philosophy, but there is still something to be said that if I can find a really great writer that understands the mechanisms of the web and search. So let's take SEO off the table. We don't have to talk SEO and keywords and strategy around that. We get that. But there is a strategy around working with the search engines and understanding the user and the strategy and writing to the goal of what you're trying to do. So it's beyond.
It's as Josh said, and as Aaron said, you write for humans first. their interests and everything else.
I think that has to be the biggest thing, to be honest. And somebody was waving their hand energetically in the back that wanted to ask a question or give an opinion, but I think that in the long term, I'm not an SEO expert. There are other people here that can give a better task, but to get your product the furthest, you just have to keep thinking about how you can help people.
Okay, your question was, how do you find, right, a good writer? Well, I went to a local school for web design, and we had a lot of SEO companies that would come and offer internships. And my suggestion to you would be to put an ad out for either someone that actually worked for an SEO company. They know how to write, and I know exactly what you're talking about because I hated doing that, and that's where I stopped doing that internship because I didn't like writing. So go to the schools and find an intern that wants to do SEO because they do actually do internships with companies like that, so they get what you're looking for. So that would be an avenue for you to find that type of writer. Or somebody that worked and say, look, write whatever your ad needs to say to appeal to that kind of. That's my suggestion to you.
Right. Well, and I think the struggle is, because we're just going to make this whole talk about me and what I need at this point, but I think
The struggle is that in my career, it's longer than I'd like to admit, working in communications, I know a lot of writers. And we're bringing some of those writers along to turn them into web writers. But it is a different type of writing than the newspaper journalist. It's not dramatically different, but there's some tweaks and some thoughts that they need to take into consideration when they sit down to write a piece about. It includes usability and findability and all of these kind of things. And what is surprising to me is that there are not more writers industry-wide in the communications industry, maybe not the folks here, but industry-wide that are just writers off the street that haven't updated some of their that should be core skill sets at this point.
So somebody needs to start, and this could be your next business, is targeting at creative writing majors and journalism majors in undergrad. And I was one briefly before I moved on, but I've spent a lot of time in those classes, and there's a lot of despair about the realism of what, the $22,000 a year or you're setting yourself up to make, or the other career that you're actually going to have to make any money. And so maybe the interesting opportunity here to help other people is to market directly at these people, how they can become, by learning the secondary skill of SEO, they can become not just good SEO writers, but really good writers, which is what you're looking for, and you're right to be looking for that. Maybe this is a way that we can, through our skills as people who understand the web and content marketing and SEO, can help out people who just really want to make art and make the world more beautiful through their writing. And a lot of people that I know in that struggling world, that we can help encourage them to become bloggers, to learn how to integrate the SEO stuff into the stuff that they're learning about how to be a good writer, and that we can advance the craft of writing about the web, and we can help a bunch of people who are dooming themselves to a life of an English major. Somebody take that business idea. Oh, can you wait for the mic real quick?
Going back to what you just said, helping each other, what I do in my class, I teach an educational technology class. I have my kids blog, but I also use the resource helping reporter out, so that way they can get a list of opportunities to write about and contribute. And if your writing is not up to par, where their writing could be used, they get positive feedback as to how to improve their writing. So they're always finding and researching areas to write on. So besides just projects in the class, this is opportunity for real world experience for them. And you get good feedback, and if their writing is accepted, they get published in an article. So that way it builds up your reputation as well.
That's great. And you're writing for two audiences on the web. You're writing for the human beings who read your website, and you're writing for the algorithms that read your website. And there's a different discussion on the focus between the two and the priorities, but that's something that as an industry we need to create a better harmony through, is how to write well for human beings without sacrificing the algorithms that drive, how we rank this and how we get literally ranked, and therefore it becomes our priority. we have any other questions? Well, thank you. And this has been a great discussion. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming.